I don't know why they're taking a billion breaks. It's kind of driving me crazy. I like the momentum of all these questions. Trump, look, this is based on what everyone's tweeting me. I heard it. I asked for confirmation on Twitter. A bunch of people tweeted me and said that I heard it right. He said that private prisons work better.
I'm not surprised he
says
that.
He fucking said private prisons work better. Are you kidding me? First of all, private prisons are not actually private, okay? The only difference between our regular prison system and the private prison system is that they do away with unions, right? And maybe you don't like unions and you think, oh, what's the big deal? Our taxpayer money goes toward these so-called private prisons. And what they do is they sign these contracts with state lawmakers to have minimum occupancy. So they have to ensure that at least 90% of their beds are filled and that taxpayers pay for those beds. Even if there aren't enough people committing crimes, taxpayers have to pay for those empty beds. Private prisons cherry pick which types of inmates they can take in, and they take in the cheapest inmates that don't need any mental health care, that don't need any special help, no disabilities, just the easiest non-violent offenders will go to these prisons, right? And what do? They work with organizations like ALEC to push for so-called tough on crime laws like the prohibition of marijuana or other drugs, and they go after immigrants and make sure that we detain them for years on end before we deport them so these fucking private prisons can get rich off of our taxpayer money. This motherfucker just sat there and talked about how private prisons are better than public prisons. Are you insane right now? Do you know why we imprison more people than any other country in the world? It's because of private prisons. Literally because of private prisons. I can't.
I don't know if there's a Republican candidate who's not in favor of increasing funding for private prisons. There are some Democrats that are in favor of it. I'm not surprised at all. They're absolutely wrong, but
Hillary Clinton
that's their position.
Hillary Clinton
takes a lot of money from private prisons.
She has come out against private prisons in her positions.
It's
publicly,
pretty infuriating.
Yet she takes money from private prisons. Her super PAC takes money from private prisons, and we know that her super PAC has no coordination with her.
There are around 3,000 people in the United States that are serving life sentences without the chance of parole for nonviolent offenses, many of which are drug offenses, right? So 3,000 people, around 3,000, I don't know the exact number right now, they will never get a chance to be free because of their nonviolent offense. Why do you think we have laws like that? It's because these prisons go out of their way to lobby for tough on crime legislation because they just want to make a buck. Again, we imprison more people in the so-called land of the free than any other country in the world. And that uneducated, ignorant piece of shit sits there and tells the American people that private prisons work better than public prisons.
Well, I don't know all of Chris Matthews' positions on the war on drugs, but he largely agreed with Trump that legalizing marijuana is a disaster, and that's one of the ways that they justify filling these private prisons up. There's been too many topics. Like, I love Chris Matthews on a couple of those topics, especially the reproductive rights. But there's been too many where he simply agrees with Donald Trump.
He agrees with him. He's probably cool.
Really fast. I don't want to skip past. That guy asked a great question. I don't think that guy's a Donald Trump supporter, but he asked the question: what have you done in advance? What plans do you have to stop there from being violence? He gave Trump an opportunity to say that he would try to stop there from being violence, and Trump said, "Hey, people are really pissed, if there's violence, people will be really mad." And I get tweets from Trump supporters who are always like, well, how can you say he supports violence at the convention? He just had the opportunity to say that they shouldn't do it.
But at least Chris Matthews didn't let him get away with not answering that guy's question.
Yeah.
Except that he did.
Giggled and went to commercial.
Yeah, that guy had a really good question that you won't answer. We're back.